I've learned how to use certain software properly used by big magazine companies. For example, I use Photoshop. I learned a lot about this program as I was alien to it when first creating my preliminary task. For my school magazine, I only used it to edit out blemishes on my models' faces. When it came to my music magazine, I learned how to use certain tools such as the spot healing brush to soften the skin. I also use tools such as the cropping tools, editing my model onto a different background. This was something I was not able to do in the preliminary task. I changed the brightness of my images for my final project to make them stand out more and the colours in the picture look much better. This was also something that I didn't know how to do for my school magazine, so the picture quality isn't as good. Something I feel I improved greatly on was the layout of my magazine. Originally, I placed my text anywhere on the screen on my school magazine as I felt it looked good there. However, I soon learned that there were certain rules when setting out my front cover. I did not think about the house style and the font colours, and now when making my preliminary task, they do not match. The colours in the text and the font do not link to the colours in the image. I also realised after making my preliminary task that layout is crucial. My image in my final task was carefully placed so that it was the main focus of my page and she made a statement. The text was also placed around the model, whereas in my preliminary task I haven't thought about the image positioning and the text is not placed well on the page. I also learnt that planning was needed, as when I did my initial plan of my music magazine contents page, I had to change the photos that I took as I realised what I was trying to achieve wouldn't work purely because of the lack of equipment I had with the photography. I did not take this into consideration when making my school magazine, as I took all of the pictures in the classroom and they were much more basic. When doing my research, I realised that I needed to be more specific and detailed when creating my music magazine. This was because I had templates such as Mixmag that I wanted to follow. Whereas when making my school magazine, I had no influences as I did not see any examples of school magazines. When creating my magazine, I realised that it needed to adopt features of real magazines, where this was not something I thought about in my prelim task. When looking at famous music magazines, I saw that different shapes were commonly used in the front covers to break up the page, such as posters which are rectangular. This changes the page dynamics, whereas on my prelim task, I only included the text that was necessary, as I was not aware of what real magazines layout included. When taking my photos for my prelim task, I did not think about the lighting or the shot that I should use for my front cover. My photo shoots that I took were not very focused, as you can see. I also decided to use a different camera for my music magazine, as it had better graphics and made the quality of my pictures much better, making the editing job far less time consuming. I learned that the lighting was crucial when taking a good picture, as it totally changes the dynamics and expression portrayed on the face. I made sure I had a continuous house style for my music magazine. This ran through all of the pages and created continuity throughout the magazine. As you can see, I have used white, black and pink throughout the whole of my magazine. I did not think about this when I created my prelim task, so none of my fonts matched each other and the colours didn't match either. Timing wasn't an issue when it came to my music magazine. This was because I learnt how to manage my time wisely from my prelim task. I originally found it a struggle to fit in all of the research, planning and creating, but when it came to my music magazine, I decided to plan out each of my pages first, so that I knew what needed to be completed, by which deadline. Although I did go off track, it still helped me to make my magazine better, as if I were to run out of time, my magazine would not have been completed. I learnt that the little details and accessories bring a photo together. For example, I used the iconography of DJs by putting my model in headphones and adding the props like DJ decks. This, I felt, instantly pulled the photo together and portrayed what genre of music I have chosen, whereas it was not so clear that my school magazine was about school, apart from the text on the front. By doing this, I feel it made my magazine more distinctive and better.